The campaigning is over, election day is here, and tonight anything could happen. On Sky News, you can follow every twist and turn from more than 250 constituencies. That's more than any other broadcaster. Track the night on TV, your phone or your tablet. We'll bring you the exit poll, the results, and we'll project who's on course to govern Britain for the next 5 years. The night begins at 9. Join me then for decision time.
I think the general election is a real milestone in terms of democracy.
People are suddenly thinking about politics.
It can be confusing. It all seems quite blurred.
I just want facts. I want what they can do for us.
People are excited to see what's going to happen.
I just don't know where it's actually going to go.
Anything could happen.
5 years have led us to this point, and now a decision's got to be made.
I think this is going to be an incredibly exciting night in British politics.
We've got cameras in more counts than ever before.
You'll be getting those results live as they happen, and immediately after that you'll be getting analysis and reaction.
We've got amazing graphics to take our viewers right through the night.
When the numbers come in, the most important thing is that you find out what they are.
You will be able to see on the screen all the results as they're in so far.
As it happens, second by second.
New ways of showing you how the data's evolving.
We've also got so many ways of bringing you that information.
The real political business starts tonight.
I have no doubts about it. Political careers are going to be made and broken tonight.
It's really nail-biting stuff.
The clock has been counting down to this night when the big decisions are going to be made.
It's decision time, an hour left for voters to decide who should run the United Kingdom. And an hour until the polls close and we can reveal our exit poll forecast. Here at Sky News, we'll be live in more seats than anyone else. It's going to be a long night. Please join us for the ride.
From Witney, we'll track the Prime Minister, David Cameron. Will he return to Downing Street for another 5 years?
In Doncaster, Ed Miliband is waiting to hear if he's managed to end Labour's break from power.
We are in Glasgow to see how Scotland has voted less than 8 months after it rejected independence.
In Sheffield, Nick Clegg, the Deputy Prime Minister for the last 5 years, will find out the fate of the Liberal Democrats.
Here in Margate, Nigel Farage will discover whether or not 2015 will be a successful year for UKIP.
And in Sunderland, we're tracking the team racing to be the very first to declare a result.
Welcome to Decision Time live on Sky News. The clock is ticking down, and at 10 o'clock, just under an hour from now, the voting will be over and the counting can begin. After that, we'll find out who will govern Britain. Right now, we have no idea, but here on Sky News, however long it takes, we'll be with you every step of the way. The first step, our exit poll, will be released when polls close. You can keep track of that and the very latest election night results data at the bottom of your screen. David Cameron is right now in his constituency home in the village of Dean. Our political correspondent, Anushka Astana, is there for us. Anushka?
That's right. The Prime Minister is at his constituency home with his wife, Samantha. The polls still open, but they went down to a nearby village, Spelsbury, to cast their own votes this morning at 9 o'clock. We know, Kay, that during the evening he will travel to where you are to listen to that final count here in Witney. Declaration around 4:30, and then the Prime Minister will head to London to Conservative campaign headquarters to watch more results come in. In 2010, he got a couple of hours sleep in the morning. He'll have the opportunity to do that in Downing Street should he want to. There are 650 races like this, and the Conservatives are fielding candidates in all but 16 in Northern Ireland.
Anushka, thank you. So settle in for a long night. We're not expecting to declare here in Witney until 4:30 a.m. So, given this market town is renowned for its blanket and booze making, both could come in very handy as we update you into the wee small hours. But for now, over to Jeremy in Doncaster. Evening, Jeremy.
Hi, Kay. Well, it's that time on election night when the battle is really over. They've had their chance to whip up the voters and to get their support. Now, really, there's little more the leaders can do but sit back and await their fate. And Ed Miliband is here in his home constituency of Doncaster North. He's up in his house about 8 miles north of here. We'll be popping over to find out more about that in a moment. But it's worth just taking around where I am, and I'm under the grandstand at Doncaster's famous racecourse, the home of the St Leger and the Lincoln, two of the great flat races. And perhaps it is fitting that Ed Miliband's count is going on here because, after all, despite all the distractions, despite all the other parties involved, this election comes down at the end to a two-horse race. Ed Miliband against David Cameron, the only two that can possibly get over the finishing line and into Downing Street at the end of all this. So let's find out more from Sophie Ridge, our political correspondent, who's been following Ed Miliband around over the last month or so. This is it, Sophie.
This is it. It's when Ed Miliband finds out if he is going to be the next Prime Minister. First, though, he has to be re-elected as the MP for Doncaster North, and he didn't waste any time this morning going and casting his vote for himself. Polls opened at 7 a.m. Just before 8 in the morning, he was down there with his wife, Justine, at the Village Hall in Sutton, which is his constituency home. Since then, I understand he's been doing some door knocking along with his wife. They're just having some dinner at the moment in the house behind me before heading over to the declaration at the racecourse in the early hours of the morning. We're not expecting that result till around 4, so my understanding is he's going to head there around an hour before, along with his wife, do the speech and then hot-foot it back down to London as quickly as he can to go back to Labour's headquarters by the early hours, by the early morning time then. So by that time, of course, he'll find out if he has won his seat, but also a bit of a clue on what the national picture is showing as well.
We shall await the count in the wee small hours of the morning. Thanks very much indeed, Sophie, from Doncaster. Back to you, Adam.
Thank you, Jeremy. Well, throughout this hour, we're tracking the time until the polls close. You can see that at the bottom of your screen here. Going to be a lot of information there tonight. And then we can report the results of our exit poll. Thousands of people across England, Scotland and Wales have been interviewed today by pollsters working for Sky News, ITV News and the BBC. Meanwhile, here in our election studio, we're bringing you video from right across the UK. You can see many of those there, more than 250 constituencies, in fact. And one other number you'll be hearing a lot of tonight, 150. That is the Sky 150, the seats we've chosen to help us tell you the story of the election. And we're live in all of them. To tell you more about that, my colleague Ed Conway. Ed.
Well, you're hearing there about the Sky 150, and here they are. These are the constituencies we've chosen to look at to signpost the course of the election. From Camborne and Redruth in Cornwall, let's find that over here, through to Argyll and Bute in Scotland. There's Argyll and Bute. These are live pictures, and we will continue to come live from these constituencies. They cover all shapes and sizes of seat across the country, and they make up just under a quarter of the 650 constituencies across the United Kingdom. They include seats held by all the main parties, constituencies from all parts of the... Have a look at this. This is all of the constituencies, 650 of them, from across the UK. Now, let's have a look at the Sky 150, because at the moment, see, these are the Sky 150 behind me, 72 of them, you can see, are held by the Conservatives, all the way from Amber Valley, you can see there, through to Worthing East. 37 Labour seats here, Aberdeen North through to Wirral South. These are the Lib Dem seats as well over here. Many of them, the SNP and the others as well. Where are the Sky 150 from? Well, 121 of them you'll find in England. Let's pull out the English seats. These are the English seats within the Sky 150. 8 of them are in Wales. These are the Welsh seats here. We've got 19 in Scotland. Let's have a look at the Scottish seats. There they are. And 2 in Northern Ireland. Have a look over here. These are the 2 Northern Irish seats, Belfast East and Fermanagh and South Tyrone. Now, Among those seats, we've got many seats where many famous faces are running for re-election tonight. We'll be live in all of their constituencies to see how they do. And as the results come in, we will be looking at seeing how close they get to this number, the winning line, 326 seats. That's how many they need to get a majority within Parliament. This, by the way, is how they fared 5 years ago. We'll also look at the coalitions they could build to get there, and that's only the start of it. We've got a whole host of other graphics, live data. It'll be on the screen behind me, and if you're on the go, you can get it all on your mobile, our apps and our website. Whatever the results, whatever the permutations, we'll bring them to you later tonight.
Well, our Ed Stone's even bigger than Ed Miliband's. But joining us now is our political editor, Faisal Islam. Welcome to you indeed. People still voting, so the election outcome can be affected. Not too much, we can say. We saw the leaders all going out bright and early. Any news on turnout at all?
No news. I mean, what I've heard anecdotally from people on the ground and from some MPs is that the weather has helped and that they are hopeful that turnout will be up on 2010, which was 65.5%. Perhaps not as high as what we got in 1997, which was 71%, but people are hopeful generally that turnout will be higher.
And of course, one of the issues is it's a new electoral register. So how will young people be participating?
There was that issue, wasn't there, about whether or not the ease with which they could register. The thing about young people and registering is that before it was done by colleges and schools, and now it's being done individually. So issues don't seem to have arisen at ballot boxes about that just yet. But we'll wait and see if finally young people, we've had the stand up and be counted process to try and get people to vote. But we'll have to see.
Just remind us of the timetable, if you like, of getting a government back in the saddle. Of course, in the old days, you used to expect it to happen overnight. Maybe not this time, but what are the dates ahead?
We shouldn't obviously prejudge the voting. People are still in the ballot box marking their cross. But the key dates are essentially, obviously, we'll expect all the results by roughly midday, 1 o'clock tomorrow. And then after that, we wait till the Queen's speech on the 27th of May and votes after that, indeed.
Faisal, I look forward to talking to you in an hour when we will have that exit poll, the first bit of real information this evening.
And a very good evening from Glasgow in the Emirates Arena, home to the Sir Chris Hoy Velodrome. Strangely enough, we're not in that particular part of the building. Used though it was through the Commonwealth Games, those steep banks wouldn't exactly be entirely conducive to the hundreds of thousands of votes, postal and stuffed into ballot boxes, that'll be counted here tonight. We have 7 separate constituency counts taking place here. So a lot of interest in the events taking place just over my shoulder, where already those tens, perhaps hundreds of counters in there, getting into their seats ready for those ballots, which will be arriving here just on the dot of 10 o'clock. We'll be seeing them checking them, verifying them, and then stacking them into bundles of 100, which will at some point give us an indication of which way these seats are going to go. But of course, we're not just live in Glasgow, we're live across Scotland this evening. A team of correspondents reporting from a number of seats. 2 of them, let's have a look. John Craig is in Clarkston, but Mark White is up in the north in Aberdeen, where, Mark, you might be in for quite a late night.
Well, indeed, yes. Here at the Aberdeen Exhibition and Conference Centre, there are counts for 3 of the rural constituencies surrounding the city that are being collated. Now, one of the first to declare could be Gordon. We're expecting a declaration, the closest we can say really, is sometime between 3 and 5 a.m. Now, standing for this seat is Scotland's former First Minister, Alex Salmond. It is a seat formerly held by the Liberal Democrat MP Malcolm Bruce, who's stepping down. The other 2 constituencies that are being counted here are Banff and Buchan, and West Aberdeenshire and Kincardine, which covers the Queen's holiday home at Balmoral. There are some 700 counting staff here who will be rattling their way through the votes in the coming hours. As soon as they reach a conclusion, we'll bring that to you live.
A busy night ahead for you, Mark. A busy night ahead also for our chief political correspondent, John Craig, who's just down the road in Clarkston. John.
Yes, I'm at the William Wood High School in Clarkston in the East Renfrewshire constituency of Jim Murphy, the leader of the Scottish Labour Party, a former Labour cabinet minister, was Secretary of State for Scotland in Gordon Brown's cabinet. This is a seat that Mr Murphy has represented since 1997, when he snatched it from the Tories in Tony Blair's landslide. At the last general election, Mr Murphy had a majority of just over 10,000. We are expecting a result here between 3 and 4 a.m. We are here in Clarkston in what you might call a commuter constituency, really, south of Glasgow. There are a few rural bits as well. It's a pretty affluent constituency.
Thanks very much, John. Well, as you can tell, we've got a huge amount in store for you here in Scotland this evening. As I said, the counts in Glasgow, 7 of them, we're expecting to come around 3 o'clock in the morning. But for now, let's go to Sheffield, where my colleague Anna Botting standing by.
Neil, yes, thank you. And the Liberal Democrat leader Nick Clegg is one of thousands of candidates waiting patiently for the people to have their say. It's certainly been a race to the finish for the man who's been Deputy Prime Minister for the last 5 years, visiting many of the 57 seats won by the Lib Dems in 2010. 4,000 miles he's covered in his campaign, 1,000 of them in the last 2 days. Well, Sky's Michelle Clifford has been with him all the way and joins us now. Michelle.
Yep, well, Nick Clegg is at home this evening. He told us he was going to be spending the evening with his wife, Miriam. They're going to have a spot of supper, maybe a drink, but he said he wasn't going to be obsessing over the television all evening, watching the results all evening. His own result isn't expected till around 4 o'clock in the morning, but it's clearly going to be a stressful evening for the Liberal Democrats. The polls have not looked particularly good, and that's the reason why he has put in or covered so much territory over the course of the last 6 weeks. It's why he did that absolutely extraordinary journey in the last 48 hours, going from Land's End to John O'Groats, hitting vulnerable Lib Dem seats on the way. He got to John O'Groats late last night, I know. I was with him, it was pretty gruelling. He did a rallying speech and then he turned right back round again and came back to Sheffield. He wanted to spend the evening, or at least the early hours of the morning, in his constituency. He voted here at around just before 11 o'clock this morning with his wife, Miriam. He told me on the bus yesterday he is confident but not complacent. He believes that the Liberal Democrats, as he put it, are going to be the surprise of this election. He said that everybody's written them off. They are going to be the surprise. In a few hours' time, we'll discover whether he is right and the national polls are wrong.
Michelle, thank you. So 6 seats in total being counted here, covering the city of Sheffield and surrounding areas. Sheffield, Hallam, Nick Clegg bidding for a 3rd term here. It's leafy, it's green, it's affluent, it's packed full of students. Nick Clegg, as Michelle said, not expected to arrive here until just before the declaration, that due at about 4:30. Let's get more now from my colleague Andrew Wilson, live in Margate.
Anna, thanks very much indeed. Another leader waiting on tonight's result is Nigel Farage. We're in Thanet, in the town of Margate, a town that the painter James Turner described as having the most beautiful skies he'd ever seen. Margate reports and counts for 2 constituencies, Thanet North and Thanet South. But by the time the High Sheriff of Kent takes to this podium to read out a lengthy declaration, that sun will be well up in the sky again. To greet that declaration, there'll be a bank of cameras. There's an awful lot of attention here in Margate tonight, much more than it's used to in past general elections. And you can see the tables are ready as well for the party faithful that will be here in numbers once the evening starts to get a little later on in the hour. That's because whatever the result tonight, there will be a little bit of history, electoral history, made here in Margate this evening. Well, one man who's been following this campaign very closely for the last 6 weeks, my colleague Robert Nisbet, who is outside a hotel not far from here. Robert.
That's right, about a mile away from you, Andrew, and this is in effect the headquarters of UKIP. It is where Nigel Farage, the leader of the party, will be watching events unfold this evening. He voted very early this morning, took many of us by surprise. At about 7:30 he turned up and spoke to cameras, and there are 11 candidates in all fighting for this seat, all of them, of course, basking in not only national but media attention. The reason it's going to take so long to get an answer is because what we have today is not just a general election, but also elections for parish councillors and the district council as well. All those ballots have to be verified and then counted. We may not get a result until 6 o'clock in the morning, Andrew.
Robert, thanks very much indeed. As Robert was saying, those boxes will start arriving here pretty shortly after 10 o'clock. That part is swift. The declaration and the counting and the verification of the boxes, that won't take too long either. They start counting at 2, but it will be well past 6 o'clock. It might even stretch to more like 7 or 8. Now, that's a very long night for the people of Margate. Not the case for the people of Sunderland, where we can go to now and join my colleague Eamon Holmes. Eamon.
Thanks, Andrew. Sunderland Tennis Centre, but I'll tell you, not a free court to be had here in Silkworth tonight. Now, you may look at this and you say, this is a count centre like no other, or like all other count centres, but I tell you that is not the case, because this count centre, they are determined to be different tonight, very, very different, and the secret for them lies not within what is going on here, but outside, the great outdoors. And it's going to be like a scene from a quiz show, something like It's a Knockout, because what you're going to see here, you see this gated archway, and there's going to be 101 students, 17-year-olds, who are going to pass the box from the cars that ferry them from the polling centres to here. And that will happen within a minute, because there's a polling centre just at the end of the road. The next thing that happens is each one of those boxes has to be authenticated, and they are scanned. You sort of see that going on there. That gives them a barcode, then the ties on them are cut, and the teams begin here. We've got 25 counting teams around here. This man, Dave Smith, he's the Chief Returning Officer. And Dave, this centre, 5 times, in the last 5 elections, you have been first in the country.
That's correct.
Yeah. What's the rush about?
The rush is about the buzz that there is in this place today. It's about doing something really well, doing something accurately and efficiently. If you want something done really well, give it to a busy person, and that's the philosophy that drives
And
us.
you guys are busy, busy, busy here,
Yeah.
it has to be said. And the accuracy, you're right, speed is important, but accuracy is important. Yeah. And you've got a team, you've got a tried and tested, trusted team. Yeah. Would you mind if I go and speak to some?
No,
to some,
you
some
help
of them
yourself.
here? As I say, they're gathered in 25 teams all around here, and they're all raring to go. Let's speak to this lady here. Hiya. How long have you been here? How long have you been counting?
I've been counting for probably about 20 years or so.
20 years. We should say not in a row.
Not in a row,
That's
no.
sort of 4 election terms. And a lot of it's down fingers. Fingers,
Oh,
you've got to have.
definitely.
Are you a thumb person or an index finger person?
Index finger. Definitely an index finger, yeah.
How many ballot papers do you reckon you're going to get through tonight?
Oh, I have no idea. Thousands. No idea.
Really?
Really?
So-
You don't actually... Because you're counting in 50s, you don't actually think about how many you're actually doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? 'Cause it's all like 50, you know. So, I don't know.
Yeah.
I really don't know that bit.
They have got so much to go through, and one of the tricks that they use, one of the tricks of the trade, is that the paper is actually thinner here,
Yes, yes, because if it's thick, when you try and flick to count, it sticks together, so you get it wrong. So it needs to be quite thin, so it's easy to move.
Do you count for a living?
No. I used to, in that I was in the old kind of wages office. So back then, we counted money, but now I don't. Now I don't. Only my own money.
Yeah,
Which isn't very much.
It seems as if you all know each other. Teamwork seems to be very,
Yes.
very important.
Do,
Everybody's
yes.
very happy,
Yeah.
very, very friendly,
Yeah.
and they're all lined up. They're ready to go. Good luck, incidentally. Hope it goes very, very well. When the first seat is declared, which will be Houghton and Sunderland South, it's going to come from over there where Team 1 is. And we'll be back. Hopefully they will do that within the hour. They're hoping about 45 minutes. They're hoping by 11:15 tonight, all eyes will be on Sunderland Tennis Centre. They will be the first in the country to declare.
Thanks, Eamon. You're watching Decision Time live on Sky News. Coming up next, we're going to go live to more of the Sky 150 seats, where we're going to track the result of this election. And we'll tell you when you can expect the action of the night to really start.